What's up, my know-it-alls? Welcome back to the Mr. Know-It-All channel. We have for you right now, or I have for you right now, a Hawkeye review. So I didn't get a chance to review the first two episodes. Obviously, all this was getting set up, but I have watched the third episode, and I'm about a day late. That's okay. Either way, here's my opinion. So, first off, to say that this episode doesn't follow along almost verbatim with the Fraction and Aha run of Hawkeye, the series from 2012, which was a Marvel Limited series. This specifically, the issue that I'm talking about was Hawkeye issue number 3, which was published October 17th, 2021, or 2012. We are in 2021. It was published in 2012. Writer was Matt Fraction. Penciler was David Aja. And you see Clint Barton, Kate Bishop are double the Hawkeye and double the trouble. But what is the Vagabond Code? Now, obviously, this is a part of the plot of the actual comic series, which is not the plot of the TV show. But like the entire episode, or at least the entire car scene part of the episode, the car chase. By the way, spoilers? I think that's a thing I should say. So, spoilers. Well, I guess let's go ahead and get into it. The episode starts with a brief background on the character that we will eventually come to know as Echo. Now, specifically the character Maya, we get to see her as a little girl, and we see her going through the various things that she goes through to eventually become the person that we're going to get. Now, you don't ever, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who's watched the MCU, anybody who's watched for any amount of time, knows for a fact that you don't get a brand new, really cool character that they absolutely intend to have stick around for a while without getting some form of an origin story. So that's really what we get at the beginning of this episode. Top of the episode is the origin story, where we see Maya as a little girl. Her father works for someone. He's clearly doing something shady, kind of a criminal or whatever. And for the most part, well, I guess you know that later. You don't really know that at the moment. But either way, you start to learn that she speaks ASL, which is sign language, with her dad. They talk a little bit, and there's some neat little tidbits and things like that. We'll go over a little bit of Easter eggs at the end. But for the most part, what you get is she ends up going, you see her growing up. And one of the things they do is they show her training in martial arts and some other things. She doesn't go to she doesn't go to a special school. She goes to regular school, meaning regular for everyone without any form of disability. And she begins to overcome. So she goes to school. She has a teacher who clearly sees that she can learn, and they show her paying attention. So she's very into visual acuity and making sure that she keeps track of things. Then later on, you see her going to martial arts, and she watches a bigger boy, and he goes to, he's doing things, and she's watching his feet. It's very reminiscent to some of the things that we saw in Daredevil, which I'm not surprised by, considering that Echo isn't actually a Daredevil character. A lot of people online were having some issues with, were bumping up into, oh, well, Daredevil's supposed to be the one, blah, 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 and Kingpin kills your dad, and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Look, again, comics. I said it last time, or rather, I said it when I was doing my review of The Wheel of Time, and I'm going to say it again here. You have to take all these things where they lie. Play the ball where it lies. And right now, Hawkeye, though it's predominantly being fed by a lot of this Fraction and Aha series, at the end of the day, it's its own thing, and you have to take it as its own thing. So either way, I've loved the heck out of the show. I thought it was really, really good. I think they're doing amazing work in terms of just trying to keep everything moving. And I'm genuinely excited for where the MCU is taking us. Now, had a conversation with a friend of mine. Her name is America. And she was one of those people who's like, it's such a boring show. It's this and that. And I hear those criticisms, and I find myself wanting to ask the question, what were you expecting the show to be? It's literally a show about a guy who shoots and uses a bow and arrow. I'm just saying, like, it's not, Not to mention the fact that the guy was already the most well-adjusted one of the Avengers to begin with. He has a home life that's amazing. He retired. Like, he retired before the series was even over. They brought him back in Captain America Civil War. And for the most part, like, he literally was done with all of this. So all he wants to do is be a family man, okay? Not to mention the fact that him and Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, were always the people who were the most grounded. While you have, Thor and Captain America and the Hulk and everybody who's all these superpowered people, and Iron Man and whatnot, you always had Clint Barton and Natasha Romanoff, who were the core of the team in terms of, hey, we're the human beings who are looking around going, is everything cool? Y'all got to, bring it down a notch or whatever. Anywho, so I really don't know what people were expecting from the show. To me, I'm going to say something pretty controversial here. This is one of the most cinematic shows so far. Loki and Hawkeye are the two most cinematic. WandaVision felt like a really, really expensive HBO show. It didn't feel like a movie. This feels like it was filmed for a big screen. It feels like it was filmed for a movie. Loki did the same thing. Now, what's the difference between filming for a movie and filming for TV? I'm going to take a quick little sidebar. When you film for movies, you film specifically in a cinematic or a wide scope. As for that means you're expecting the visuals are going to be seen roughly 20 feet wide and just up in the air, huge and massive, and that people are going to be able to do this number when they're looking at it and really take in the vistas and the visuals and all that other stuff. When you film for television, you get, okay, great example. My family and I, we watched the new Home Alone movie, okay? Home Sweet Home Alone. And in that movie, that was clearly filmed for a small aspect ratio, for television sized. You have an awful lot of close-ups. You have an awful lot of big scenes where everyone's filling in the whole scene because we know the most you're going to see it on is a screen yay big. Okay? Movies are way different. A lot of wides. You see people. If you see a close-up, it's because you want to get the emotion of what's going on, and you want their face to just fill our field of vision. All that being said, I feel like this show and Loki are the two most cinematic shows that are out there. This show also feels like a Home Alone comedy, tongue-in-cheek, buddy cop show. But so let's go into the rest of episode 3. At this stage, I guess I find myself asking the question, whose show is it? Because on top of the other criticisms I've heard, one of the other things I've been hearing a lot of is, I thought it was the Hawkeye show, but it's like the Kate Bishop show. Let me clarify something. Kate Bishop is Hawkeye. She will be Hawkeye. She's training to become the character of Hawkeye. The nearest equivalent would be Robin one day wants to become Batman. Kid Flash one day wants to become Flash. Superboy one day wants to become Superman. Kate Bishop one day wants to become Hawkeye. Hawkeye in this instance, I believe in the instance of the titular character, it's like calling it Batman. It's just it's who's going to be carrying the mantle. Or I guess in this case it'd be who's going to be carrying the quiver of Hawkeye. Who's going to be carrying the mantle of Hawkeye? Eventually, I think Kate Bishop's going to be. We are definitely going to get a Young Avengers in the future. We've already been introduced to a lot of some of the characters in these series who will eventually one day. Wanda's son, Isaiah Bradley's grandson in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now Kate Bishop. You have 3 people who make up the Young Avengers. Really, all you need. Give me the Hulk's, what's his name, Cho. And the character who becomes the young Hulk, and you pretty much got it all down. I know we're going to be getting She-Hulk, and that's going to be awesome. Anyway, all right, so back to this. One of the things, so when you ask the question, whose show is it? I feel like Kate Bishop is we're looking at a handing off of things. They didn't do Old Man Hawkeye or Old Man Clint Barton, which was an actual story in the comics. But they're towing that line in that he's clearly an aged guy. However, you get to see some really cool scenes of him doing some neat stuff, and then you see her, and then ultimately you have him. At some point, he says to her, "Hey, you know what? I think you were right." And his hearing aid at this point in the episode is broken, and so he's having a hard time. They can't hear one another so much, so they're kind of talking around each other. She says, "Well, I think we need to walk the dog," and he's like, "I think you were right. You really are one of the best archers in the world." And so, because she's basically doing everything he says to do and doing it well. And then later on, he's like, "I think we need to walk the dog." So it's there. You see that they're very much in sync if they're just off a step, and I actually like that interpretation of things. So all that having been said, let's kind of go through the whole thing, because I feel like there's a lot of really cool Easter eggs that are going to lead us into some neat conversation points. So the very first thing is, this is the first episode. This title is titled Echoes. Now, this is a nod to Maya Lopez's secret identity in the comics. She goes by the name Echo in the Daredevil series. So she's a completely deaf character who pretty much is the counterpoint. I think the plan back in the day with Marvel was to actually make sort of a hear no evil, see no evil sort of series, speak no evil. So you were probably going to get a character down the way who was mute of some sort or whatever. Anyway, and so what you get is right now Echo uses silence and gauging and seeing things. Also in the comics, Echo is more than just about the fact that she's deaf. In the comics, Maya Lopez is more set up a little bit like Taskmaster from the Black Widow movie, where a Taskmaster has to see and can be programmed with your moves. Echo in the comics is able to catch what you're doing, see a move, and essentially assimilate it. And she can become an echo to your move, sort of repeating things. Anyway. So I kind of love the fact that they've sort of keeping a lot of that. Now, she comes with an awful lot of baggage. So another Easter egg, if you look really closely at the scene where she's talking to her dad, he has a tattoo on his neck. It's a small circle, a couple of triangles and whatnot. She has a symbol like that on her costume in the comics. Very similar. I don't know if it's an Easter egg. I think it might be sort of a nod. I don't know if it's significant. Probably more of a nod to us as fans. So then you have when Maya asks her dad if dragons are real, he says they live in a different world. And I feel like, having just watched Shang-Chi, that's kind of a callback to that. Very, very cool. I was all about it. I think it's really neat. My favorite is the one everybody's been talking about. My wife and I we were all big fans of the Daredevil series. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin was stupid good. Next level good. And so when we watched the episode together, I watched it the night before when it dropped. We watched it yesterday together. And I asked my wife, I said, "Everybody be quiet." I play that part. And you hear him go, and like, dude, and she looks at me, she goes, "Oh yeah, that's Vincent D'Onofrio. That's Kingpin all day." And I'm like, "I know." Anyway, so that's really exciting. They haven't really confirmed it. I want to be on record as saying they have not confirmed 100% yet that he's going to be in it, but I want him to be in it so badly. In this series, Ronan watches as Maya kills her family, and Kingpin is the one who in the comic books orders the murder of her father. It's weird because they're playing, I think they're setting him up to be an uncle. Again, these are some events that don't mirror 100% the comics, but I'm okay with that. Comics. So then you have, later on, Clint tells Ronan, or he tells Maya that Ronan was murdered or is killed by Black Widow. I think that's a tiny obfuscation. Obviously, because she can peep things. She's clear. She's very clear on the fact that he's lying. I believe he's referring to how she saved him in Avengers Endgame, or was it Infinity War? It might have been Infinity War. Whatever. No, I think it's Endgame. It was Endgame. Anyway, and he saves her in Endgame. He saves his life and basically pulls him out of it. Thus, the death of Ronan. There's a whole bunch of other. This whole series is rife with Hawkeye, the comic book references. Tracksuit Mafia, trust a bro in the van, they're moving. The entire car scene, the car chase scene, the one we've seen from trailers and whatnot, but the whole thing is really predicated on this car chase, and almost down to every single thing. The only thing that isn't from the comics is the Pym particle arrow, which, by the way, is the dopest thing ever. So it's one of those things that I'm just like, that's amazing. He just created a 40-foot arrow. I'm down, bro. I'm here for it. overall, I'm in for this series. We're halfway through. There's 3 more episodes to go. I'm going to do a review every time it could drop so we can kind of get sort of follow along with this thing. But yeah, man, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Disney Plus series are doing the Lord's work. They're doing amazing stuff. They're giving us things that we haven't seen. They're giving us longer story character beats that we're going to that I appreciate the heck out of. I love the movies, but these series have kind of elevated serialized storytelling on a level that I think is amazing. So stick around, keep in touch, make sure you like, subscribe, click a little bell icon. I like to know what videos are performing a certain way, so just let me know if there's anything you want me to talk more about. I'm looking to do more of these on a regular basis, as well as start doing some educational material, sort of explaining some things, maybe taking some information from comic books or some movies or books or whatever and doing some explainer videos. Either way, hey man, if knowing is half the battle, then you're half the way to becoming the know-it-all that I know you absolutely can be. So remember, stick it out here and there. You are all my know-it-alls, and I'm going to make sure that everyone knows that you are one of the know-it-all nation. Why? Because remember, everyone, I don't care what they say, loves a know-it-all. Take care.